Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget and the ATM. Today is March 24th, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and it looks like we have several questions already posted on the events page, unlike I have seen in many weeks. So I'm actually quite excited to see so much engagement this time. And the only thing I did different was posted the event page in the Lead Gadget University Facebook group instead of just the Lead Gadget group. So maybe that's the trick to getting more people to attend. So point noted. We will do that from now on. That said, we've got some questions. We're going to go ahead and jump right into them. If you guys have any questions that post them now on the events page. Make sure that you are on the Google event page to post your questions there. Do not post your questions in Facebook. They will get missed. Do not post your questions in YouTube. They will get missed. Post them on the Google Plus event page. That's where I will see them, and I will answer them in the order in which they appear. Okay. So let me go ahead and grab the screen, and we will jump right into the questions that are there. We'll get through as much as we can. And again, I appreciate everybody posting questions today because that certainly makes for a better webinar. So I'm going to start with Greg's question. He says, "Hi, Bradley. Not sure if I will be awake at this time, so here is my burning question. The promote button in the ATM seems to create a heck of a lot of Googlebot activity and is recommended to only promote a limited number of sites at a time, depending on the number of sites on the server. Is it entirely necessary to actually promote at all if you do the following? Add property to Search Console, only a small number of sites per account at your recommendation, and add the XML sitemaps to bring the bots." Okay, so I'm going to answer this question, but I need to first preface, yes, you are correct, Greg, in that you don't need to use the promote button if you're going to be adding the sites to Search Console. But before I get a ton of people posting on the page or in the Facebook group saying, wait a minute, we were told not to do that, blah, blah, blah. What I do, guys, is I usually, and it depends, when I was building the sites myself, I would often, for probably 9 out of 10 sites, I would end up adding the sites to Google Search Console. But I would use multiple Google accounts. I run, a separate SEO business, so I have like literally thousands of Google accounts. So I would just select a Google account and then add the site to a Google account, not my main account or not to one Google account. In other words, I didn't have, 10 sites in one Google account. I would have one Google account with one site. Occasionally, I would put 2 or maybe even 3 sites into one Google account, but I never liked to go more than above 3 sites in any one Google account, because if something were to happen and one of the sites were to get de-indexed, there's a good chance that all the sites included in that one Google account would be de-indexed. So I would always try to mitigate my risk or limit my exposure by only using, 1, 2, or at the most 3 when I was being lazy sites in any one Google Search Console account. Okay. So before you all freak out about it, just wanted to let you know that. All right. And yes, if you're doing that, if you're submitting your site to Search Console, taking the precautionary steps, as I mentioned, and then you're adding the XML sitemaps, then you do not need to use the promote button because it's going to get indexed that way. I found that that's a lot more efficient at indexing than just the promote button. However, that's when I was doing the sites myself. Now that I got VAs building sites for me, I'm not having them do that. I'm just using the promote button. That and an indexer. I'll be honest with you. I'm using an indexer that I've been testing for about a month now, maybe 5 weeks. I think 5 weeks because I just got my first monthly bill a few days ago. So it's been about 5 weeks now. And it seems to be working okay. It's not the greatest, but at the same time, the indexing services aren't there was a time, and it probably is still the case, but I haven't heard anything bad about it in a while. There was a time where people were testing a bunch of different indexers, and Don would get pissed because he'd say that, it was slowing the servers way down, especially when we were doing the VP, what they called the VPH servers or whatever, the hybrid servers. Yeah, the virtual private hybrid servers. There was just too many bots would come and it would slow down. It would eat up too much bandwidth. It would screw everybody's sites up, in other words, load times and everything else. So I know that there was like a ban put on any indexing services. I don't know that that's still the case. I haven't clarified that with Dawn, but I have been testing a particular indexing service for about 5 weeks, only because it's the only one that has a decent price for the volume of links that we're submitting. we're building, even if we were to just build 10 sites per day, and we're, and they're basically 30,000 post sites, that's 300,000 links per day that I've got to submit. You do that 5 days a week, you're talking 1.5 million links per week, and that's at only 10 sites per day. So that's 6 million links per month. And again, if we double that, now you're looking at 12 million links per month if you're doing 20 sites per day. And so the only service that I found that is reasonable when you get to that volume is a site called, I believe it's Express Indexer. Yep, this is it. ExpressIndexer.solutions. ExpressIndexer.solutions. They have custom packages. You have to contact the owner or the developer or whatever to contact them, but they'll give you custom pricing for that kind of volume. I'm paying for my plan like $125 a month or something like that for as many links as that I'm submitting. So again, I'm not 100% sure that Don's cool with it, but I did talk to him about it, so he knows that I'm doing it. And I've been testing these for about 5 weeks now, and it works fairly well. And I am using XYZ domains now only because the sheer volume of sites that we're building. When I was doing it myself, I was buying just top-level.coms, .net, .orgs, and specifically I was buying expired domains that were, I was using the blue chip backlinks domain crawler to find topically relevant domains first and purchasing them. It's only the cost of registration. However, since now we're building so many damn sites every single day, I'm just buying .xyz domains because it's just not cost effective to do it the other way, and it takes too much research time to locate them. So it depends on what your strategy is. If you're going to be a bit more selective in your builds, then I recommend going the expired domain route, finding topically relevant domains that essentially, what I mean by that is they were previously, before they were dropped domains, they had content on them that is relevant to what you're going to be building on, because that way they already have some backlinks pointing to them from relevant content sources, and they seem to index incredibly well. And I've had really, really good success that way, but it requires some research time to locate those domains up front. Okay. You've got to, and you have to have a tool to do that as well. So that works really, really well. But if you're doing a volume strategy, which is really what is taught in Lead Gadget, then I recommend you don't spend that much time unless you hire out a VA or somebody to do the research for you. So it just depends on what your strategy is. So to answer your question, Greg, yes, that is a absolutely good way to do it. If you're just doing, not a high volume of sites, this is a good way to do it. But just make sure that you're limiting the amount of sites that you put in any one Google account to, I would say, just to be safe, no more than 2 sites per account. So that means you're going to need quite a bit of Google accounts. Okay. That's how I had done it in the past. Although, like I said, I'm just going to be transparent with you guys and let you know that I am not at this moment doing that, because I've got just way too many, my VAs are building between 16 to 20 sites per day now. I've got 2 VAs building for me. And so it's just not really, at least at this point, it's not feasible. I might work that into the process at some point, but at least right now they're not. Excuse me. One Wizful says, West Coast, so I'll catch the replay. This question is towards over-optimization. I'm in the process of testing these questions myself, but would like to get your thoughts. I've often heard such outcomes as this. Page wasn't to be found anywhere in the main target keywords or for the main target keywords. Keyword density of article was reduced, either by adding content or de-optimizing keywords. Okay. Voila, page jumps into top 50 to 100. You've mentioned that these local targeted sites seem to play by different rules, but there must be some type of threshold, right? Many have mentioned how often their SERP counts fluctuate, index, unindex. Do you think this may be related to over-optimization, i.e. a low-quality signal? It could be. To be honest with you, wow, there's a lot of questions from this dude. That's okay. I appreciate the questions. All right, so let me show you what these are the thresholds, guys, that I use for any site, even ATM sites. Okay. When it comes to, all right, we're going to talk about keyword density for right now. I want to walk through this keyword density thresholds. Let's put that in there. I talked about this in several of these webinars in the past, but the attendance has been awfully low for the last several weeks. So we'll go through this one more time. So one of the things that I like to do is take my content And like I've got a WordPress site that I have that's just set up. It's a demo site. I've got many demo sites, but stuff that I use for testing purposes and that kind of thing. And so what I'll do is I'll take my article content that I'm going to be using with an ATM site build, and I put it if it's got some spinning aspects to it, whether the whole article spun or just a few of the paragraphs are spun or whatever, I'll just take the completed page template, which I always I'm sure if any of you guys have watched any of the training that I've done in the past, I know there's a recycle button in the ATM, but I still keep a notepad just like this, a notepad file of every single site build that I've ever done. So essentially what I'll do is I create a template like, let me just open up another notepad file and I'll show you what I mean. Obviously the text isn't this big. I'm just doing this so you guys can see it. Hopefully you guys are seeing my entire screen, by the way. Yeah, you are. Okay. What I'll do is I'll start with my pack list. Let me walk through this and exactly what I do, guys, just so you have an idea. And this is the only way I can stay organized, and it makes it easier for me in case I find that particularly successful campaigns that I can go back and just copy and paste to rebuild those campaigns or to duplicate the campaigns. So I'll put my pack list short code here, so it'll be short code. Then what I'll do is I'll list my individual short codes. So this will be, short code 1, short code 2, which would be the, the categories, and so on and so forth. And then this is how I do it. I always divide them up like this. And then I will go with my SEO title or page title, whatever, it doesn't matter because it's the same thing. And I actually put, page title, short code 1, something like that. Whoops, that's a spin bracket. So I meant to do a square bracket, excuse me. Okay. And then, and I'll do, my meta description. Oops, I could spell, and then I'll do my tags, and I'll do the article body, or the the categories, then I'll do the article body, and I do everything like that. Okay, so that I have a basically, and then the other thing that I'll do besides my short codes here is if I'm using like spun URLs, like I'll do for video short, I always do a video short code, because I go, and I even have my VAs do this, but I have them scrape now videos for the particular keyword, the broad match keyword. And then they'll scrape, 100 videos or so, and then spin the video URLs and put them into a short code so that I have a video URL short code. So I'll say video URLs, and then it'll be video URL. I'll just say SC short code, things like that. And then I'll also do like related content URLs. I'll do the same thing, create a short code with that. It'll be basically spun related content URL. So we'll select at least one keyword phrase in the article body and add the short code so that it'll basically be linking out to some other content that is related at some point. So anyways, just so you guys know, this is what my notepad file looks like. By the time I'm done, it's got, the article body, got categories in here too somewhere, or article body. And I paste the article body in there. Okay, so what I'm saying is if I have some, some of the article is spun, or maybe I'm spinning the whole thing, whatever the case may be, that's all going to be right here. So what I do is I then take a copy of just the article body, and I'll go paste that in. I'll paste it into an unspinner, and I'll unspin a version of it, and then copy the resulted unspun version of that article, paste it into a regular WordPress installation that I use for demo purpose. It's set to no index. I just use it specifically for testing and stuff like that. And I'll publish a post. And then I'll take that post and I'll go, the post URL, once it's been published, and I'll go check it with a tool called SEO Centro. I know there's probably a million tools that do this kind of thing. I'm just going to show you the tools that I use, guys. Okay. You guys can use whatever tools you want. This is what I use. It's called SEO Centro, CENTRO.com. And there is a keyword density checker over here, and you can copy the page URL or the post URL, post it into here, put in the 4-digit captcha, click submit, and it's going to analyze the page Okay, so let's just go find a page somewhere on, let's see if there was, let's just go find an article. Let's just say keyword density form. Let's just see if we can find an article about that. Here we go. We're going to use the Wikipedia page. Not a whole lot of, look at that. Somebody's got the density of a keyword phrase. Look at this. Somebody's got some calculation for keywords. Keyword density. Wow. Way above my pay grade. All right, we're going to go ahead and paste that in there and take a look at 3941. Submit. So what this is going to do is it's going to give you the keyword density values of the words on the page based on 3 criteria. 1-word phrases, 2-word phrases if you scroll down, and then there will be 3-word phrases at the very bottom. Okay, so I'll go take a look at the an unspun version of the article that I'm using for my content body, and I'll just take a look to make sure that it's not over optimized. Okay, and so the thresholds that I'm always looking for, and this is the same for regular sites that I build and ATM sites, is this. For, I'll use a number, 1 word, it is 2%. I try to stay under 2% for 1 word. For 2 words, I try to stay under 1%. And for 3 words, I try to stay under 0.2%. Now, depending on how much content you have on this page, how many words in total, that might be difficult, especially for the 3 words, because if you're only using, you know, a 500-word article, then it's very easy to over optimize, right? So you've got to consider that. And obviously, depending on what topic it is that you're building a site around or building content for, sometimes there are very few synonyms for the main keyword. So sometimes the main keyword will be used more than what these thresholds are, but these are just kind of like guidelines, guys. They're points of reference. These rules can be broken, but I try to stay within these parameters as much as possible. Okay, so I'm just letting you know that that's what I do. I'll go take a look at the content based on using this tool right here, which is free, and I'll take a look and see what is, you know, if I'm somewhat close to these thresholds. If I'm not, then I'll go back and I'll kind of rewrite or find the parts of the article that need to be de-optimized a bit and work on those. Either find the keywords that are pushing it above these thresholds and then find related phrases instead and use those, so that I'm essentially still talking about the same thing using LSI keywords or synonyms or co-occurring keywords or whatever, however you want to call it. Or I'll just add more content that's a little bit less optimized, a little bit more generic content, maybe something like that, that'll try to balance these numbers out a little bit better. Okay, so that's what I do. Now, really, what I have found with these sites, even the 4 things that Google looks at, in my opinion, and based on the testing that I've always seen, when Google comes to crawl a page, they're looking at 4 things up front, and then they will, to give your page quality a score, right? So it'll score your page with a page quality number. And essentially, there are 4 things that they're looking at, and that's the SEO title, and this is in order of importance. SEO title, URL, which we don't have a lot of control over that with the ATM. Page title, which is the H1 tag. And then lastly, number 4 is going to be the meta description. Okay, so these are the 4 things that they look at first. And if you're over optimized in these 4 locations, then you're already, it's essentially like the page is being slanted in a negative, it's being viewed through a negative lens at that point. It's already lowered the quality score. So what I try to do is the SEO title is the only place that I like to have the exact match keyword, which is what I always do for the SEO title. That's why for my pages, guys, like my builds, I just put the exact match keyword. I don't put a dash and then another section of title or whatever. Like I always just do exact match keywords. So it's like keyword plus the short code for the city. That's it. Like that's all I ever do for that. For the build, once the site is built inside the SEO plugin, then I can append like a brand term or something like that after the actual SEO title. But during the build process, here's why. Because the URL, guys, I always like the URL to be short, as short as possible. And when you add like a long title, that's like an SEO title, like keyword plus city short code and then dash and then another variation of the keyword, then your URL gets real long, because that's during the build process. So the URL is going to be based upon the SEO title that you set in the ATM, right? So it's just basically all the words with dashes in between them. It's hyphenated, right? So that makes a really, really long URL. And I don't like those big, dumb, long URLs, and especially when there's multiple keywords in them. And a lot of you guys are probably using somewhat like exact match or partial match domains. And so you end up with several occurrences of the keywords in the URL itself. And that to me is over optimization. And again, when Google, the bot comes to crawl your page, if it's over optimized in these 4 areas, and what Google's doing is checking these 4 areas first before it even reads the rest of your page. Why? Because these are all in the header, right? The page, except for the page title, but these are all at the top of the page, right? So it's looking at these and saying, okay, look, if there are indications here of this page being optimized because of these 4 points, data points first, then we already know that this page has got a lower quality score because it's clearly being optimized for search, which Google doesn't want us doing, right? So that's why I try to keep the URL short. And one way to do that is to just put the SEO title as exact match keyword. Once the site is built, you can use the plugin, the SEO plugin that comes pre-installed, and just go in and append via tokens to the plugin settings, whatever that second version of the title that you wanted to add. That's just how I do it, guys. Again, you guys are free to do whatever you want. Page title is going to be your H1 description, which is or an H2 description. What I do, because of the way that the sites are built, is I end up making this an H2. What I do is I basically will open up the article in the content body. So if we were to go back over here in the content body, I have a conversational type title here, and I make this, let's go back and do that again, say H2, make that an H2. And so that essentially becomes my page opener. And what I'll do there is I may put a synonym in there, an LSI or a co-occurring keyword, but I don't put the exact match keyword there, okay? And then lastly, in the meta description, that's going to be up here. In the meta description, I will oftentimes use the keyword, the main keyword, but then I'll use the short code for locations, and that should have had a double bracket. Excuse me. But I don't put them in exact match order. For example, guys, people don't talk like let's just use plumbers, for example. If my exact match keyword is plumber, Boston, MA, right? People don't talk like this. People don't say, I need a plumber, Boston, MA. That's how we optimize as SEOs, or we used to. We shouldn't anymore. But that's how people optimize for SEO. And we don't need to do that anymore. Google's not stupid anymore. Their semantic web engine is such that is advanced enough such that we don't need to hit Google over the head with that anymore. They understand word relationships a lot better now, if that makes sense. So I do use the exact match keyword because people still search this way, but it's unnecessary to optimize our content this way. So I'll still use this as the SEO title. However, for the rest of the places in these 4 data points here, I don't put it like that. It's only one time. I only use the exact match keyword in one location. Okay. And then unfortunately, because of the way the sites are built, we don't have any control over the URLs. The only control we have over the URLs is, like I said, if we just have a shorter SEO title, we can keep our URLs a bit shorter. So, but I don't put it in the page title. The page title I might have, basically I use a title generator to generate titles that are conversational. They're like it's for serving titles to a human, not to a machine, if that makes sense. So sometimes there won't even be the main keyword in the title, and most of the time there is not the location tag in the page title. Okay, there might be the keyword, but not the location tag. And usually, if there is a keyword in the main title or the page title, it's going to be a LSI, like a co-occurring keyword, a synonym of the main keyword, not the exact match main keyword. And lastly, the same thing for the meta description. That makes sense. So like I might have plumber in Boston or Boston, MA, or Massachusetts, or perhaps a county, whatever in the actual meta description, but it won't be in this particular order. It may be like looking for a good plumber in Boston. Click here to contact, I don't know, this is off the cuff, but click here to contact your local, and I would use, a county maybe here, contractor, something like that. Okay. You guys get what I'm saying? So, and this would be actually, this would actually be the city short code, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, so it's not plumber Boston. You know what I mean? It's looking for a good plumber in city. Click here to contact your local blah, blah, contractor, something like that, so that it's not over optimized. The exact match keyword only appears in one location, in this case too, because of the URL, which we have no control over, right? And not on the deployment end of it. So we have limited control. So hopefully that makes sense. When I was, the reason I walked through all that is because I get this question a lot. The different rules that I mentioned was, there's a lot with the ATM sites. There's a lot of things that I've noticed that like just completely bend the rules. One of them being the duplicate content issue, because I've spent time doing super spun articles and they don't perform any better than using an article that is minimally spun, or articles that have an opening paragraph and a closing paragraph that are spun, but the content in the middle stays the same. Like, I haven't really had any better results. I used to spend a lot of time when I was doing the builds myself. I would spend the time like scraping 200 or 300 images, resizing them using like batch photo to where they'd all be the same dimensions, then uploading them to Amazon S3, then copying all the image file URLs from my bucket, spinning those together, and then putting those in the builds with like spin text within the HTML code of the image, the image HTML, so that it would spin with different border sizes. It would spin between whether it was aligned left or aligned right, to where basically there would be so many spun parts of it. Now, Dawn doesn't like me teaching that stuff, and I'm not teaching it now because I haven't seen any better results doing that. So my point is, I'd spend a lot of time doing all these things, and on, under traditional SEO, common sense based on traditional SEO would say that all of that is wrong and it shouldn't perform well. And I've seen some of these sites do absolutely incredibly well with, using minimally spun content. So I can tell you right now, the only thing that I'm doing is following these exact same parameters here, the same criteria that I'm sharing with you guys here. And then the only thing we're doing is we're using a spun article. It's not super spun or anything like that. It's minimally spun. And then we're adding in spun URLs for, like I said, video URLs. So we're scraping YouTube URLs, and we put a short code in with, we have basically an H3 tag above the video that is a conversational type, like, hey, watch this video below about, and then I'll use a keyword short code there. And then from there, it's the video URLs that are spun. So each page gets a different video, and then the related content URL. So one outbound link to related content. And that's it. That's the only spinning we're doing. Like, I'm not even putting images on the pages anymore because I'm using the WP overlayer for everything. So to me, like, I haven't seen any benefit of adding an image right now. Excuse me. So, like I said, going through here is, I think absolutely that some of the pages can be over optimized. That's where I've seen a lot. And Brian and I kind of went over this several months ago now, but a lot of these pages are way, way over optimized. I've seen from students or from, members of Lead Gadget, when they're saying that they're having problems, and you go look at their content and it's just completely over optimized. Guys, if you follow this kind of right here, I'm telling you, you don't need to hammer Google over the head anymore with keywords. You don't need to. It's unnecessary, right? The SEO title, that's the first thing that it looks at, right? And so if you identify what the page is about through your SEO title, then Google already knows what the page is about. And most of you guys are probably using exact match domains or partial match domains. So it's already identified by the root domain what the site's about, right? And so my point is now you end up, if you end up using keywords for the root domain, using keywords for the SEO title, they end up being in the URL because we have limited control over that. You end up with them in the page title, and you end up putting them in the meta description. Now you've got a keyword in all 5 locations. I'm only looking at 4 here, but let's put a 0 up here. Root domain, right? Root domain. So if we've got these 5 different points here and you've got a keyword in all 5 of them, your page is your page is going to be already deemed as over optimized before it even gets to the content. So that's why I try to stick with only a partial match on the root domain, an exact match keyword here. The URL, again, we have limited control over that. The page title I use is H2 now, so that's because we don't really have the control over the H1 as much. So I'll do the H2 here. And then the meta description, again, those are all LSI keywords, right? And then within the content, I try to stick within the article body. I try to stick within these parameters. And that's all that's necessary, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. You know, it works well for me. We're doing a lot of sites right now, and we're starting to get a lot of traffic from the sites now that we're building in volume, and that method seems to work well. All right, next one. I recall in your regional build experiment, tree service, you experimented with no indexing the tags of one site. I also believe hearing you mention the posts typically rank better than tag pages during that series of videos. What do you think about properly integrating into the article the LSI keywords which would otherwise end up as tags? Or do you think there may be a benefit to the size of the sites that result from the tag pages, i.e. more volume, more power? Yeah, that's another one of these things. I don't know what your real name is, but we'll just call you Wizful. Yeah, like for example, with traditional SEO, I don't usually index tags because it ends up creating duplicate content issues on the same domain. But for these sites, this is one of these type of sites bend the rules because I do leave tags to index with these, and it does create duplicate content because if you've got a tag that is unique, and the way that we build tags with the ATM, we're adding our tag list, right? And we append a short code at the end. So essentially for every single post, it has a set of unique tags specific to that post, right? Does that make sense? Because the only post that has those tags are, because of the short code that we're adding, are that specific post. And that creates duplicate content under normal circumstances, which can actually hurt your site unless you're setting what's called a canonical. And I don't want to confuse everybody, but if you're canonicalizing tags to a post, then that's different because that's what Google tells us we should do if there is duplicate content or very, very, very similar content. You're supposed to use the canonical tag, the canonical attribute, to basically push credit to another page. It's not a redirect, but it does something similar to a redirect. It basically pushes credit to another page. Before I confuse you guys, let's just say that with typical sites, like if I'm building a site for a client, not an ATM site, a regular site, then tags are not designed to be unique unless you set canonicals. Tags are supposed to be broader terms that are shared across multiple posts, right? Because remember, WordPress by default creates a tag page for each tag. And so if you have like let's say you've got a plumbing site and you say plumber is a tag. Plumber would end up being used as a tag on like probably most of your posts. So when you click the tag URL for plumber, it will bring up an index page that lists all of the posts that have that tag, that contain that plumber tag. So that's like an index page, right? It's like a blog page, a blog index page, but it's a tag index page. When you only have one unique tag per post, then when you've got the post URL, then when you click that tag, it opens up the tag index URL, but that, or the tag index page that only displays that one post. That's duplicate content, right? And so you're supposed to set a canonical then, which pushes the relevancy from the tag page over to the main page. And you can do that within within Yoast. I'm not sure if you can do it with all-in-one SEO, which is what comes installed by default. But you can do that with like Yoast SEO and some of the other SEO plugins as well. But with these sites, with ATM sites, you don't have to do that. It just baffles me. I don't understand, because the tag pages all get indexed and it doesn't seem to hurt the sites. In fact, I leave the tags all set to index, And that's like a 30,000 posts build ends up being with 180,000 posts indexed, 200,000 posts indexed. Why? Because all the tag pages index, which again, I don't understand why that works, but it does. So that's one of these cases where the ATM site builds bends the rules, right? It's like they're operating under a different set of rules. Maybe it's the sheer size of them. I still don't understand why, but it is what it is. So take advantage of it. I leave the tags set to index. And I have tested before with setting them to no index, but honestly, the sites that have the tags index perform better. I end up getting more traffic from them. Shit, I got my partners banging me up for something. Just give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys, I apologize for this, but my partners are hitting me up for something. All right, I'll answer the rest of them in a minute. Okay, so what I do with the LSI keywords is once I've developed my keyword list for whatever build, guys, I just create, remember, I'll take those keyword lists after I've cleaned it down and whittled it down to whatever the amount of keywords is that I'm going to use for my builds, and I'll create a short code out of my keywords so that, I might have 300 keywords in the short code. So I'll spin them together, then I'll go out, create a keyword short code for that project build or that batch of sites, right? So there will be a keyword short code too, right here. I'm going to say keywords. Keyword short code. Okay. And what I'll do is within the content, and this is where I do the video URLs. I was just talking about this a minute ago. So let's just say that we have some text here. And then this will be an H3 tag. I put an H3 tag here. Watch this video about, and then I use my keyword short code here. Keyword short code here, right? And then I'll do this. Oops. Let's go back and clean that up. And then this is where this will be YouTube. I use the Viper's Video Quick Tags plugin to create it. Like, it's a plugin that I install after the sites are deployed, but in the build portion of it, when I'm building the sites before deployment, I add this short code tag around here. Let me just copy this. And in Viper's Video Quick Tags, I install that when I'm done. And then once I install that plugin, it will convert the URLs into a YouTube embed. So that's what I use like that. So this is what I'll do. So it'll be watch this video about keyword short code here. So that I'm adding the LSI keywords, which is what I end up using for tags anyways. I end up having that in an H tag in the content. Does that make sense? And so it's in an H tag above a video. And then remember, the videos are going to be at least broad match keyword, like not very specific or long tail most of the time, but I go with like the broadest keyword. So if the site's about plumbers, it might just be plumbing videos here. Does that make sense? So there's relevancy. And so I'm basically getting diversity here, and then I'm getting diversity here, but they're all related to the same topic. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's clear. But again, Wizful, to answer your question, yes, I leave tag pages to index. Because that's how we end up getting, like, it's crazy, but if you are connecting your sites to Search Console, you can reveal so much data about which pages are bringing in traffic. And oftentimes it's the tag pages that are actually getting the most traffic, generating the most clicks, right? So that's why I leave in the index. Let's see. I've only got about 20 more minutes, guys, so let's try to run through these. Excuse me. Last thought. We mentioned the random ranking factor. Would this oppose my previous questions? Therefore, it's probably not worth spending time on more typically themed content, exceptional LSI integration. Maybe only after we've confirmed the success of some niches with the shotgun approach recommended by Brian. Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. That's what I'm saying. Like, again, it depends. If you're doing volume building, then just stick with that. Just crank out sites one after another, and some are going to stick and some won't. The ones that stick, you can go in and just click the recycle buttons and then build out 10 domains around that, 10 sites around that one piece of content because it's already been successful, right? If you're doing a more selective approach, a more rifled approach, which is what I had been doing when I was building them myself, then I would experiment with a lot of this stuff. But what I found is that honestly, you're probably better off doing the shotgun approach. There is a whole random ranking factor. Terry Kyle talks about that. Terry Kyle is one of the SEOs in the industry that I really highly respect. If you guys aren't familiar with Terry Kyle, you can go look at like SEO Traffic Hacks. He's a very sharp dude, and he kind of coined the term random ranking factor. And yeah, there are some domains that you'll purchase that just won't ever perform well. And it's that random ranking factor. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. Remember, we're dealing with an algorithm, so there's always algorithmic anomalies, right? So there are just sometimes domains that just won't perform well. And you could take the same exact site, and I've done this with traditional sites, guys, not just ATM sites, but cloned the site from a domain that just wouldn't perform well and put it onto a brand new domain and had that site rank incredibly well and did nothing different other than just switched domains. And I'm talking like brand new domains that had never even been purchased and dropped, which could mean that they had some sort of lingering penalty in place. I'm talking about brand new registered, never registered before domains. I've even done that through testing. And for some reason, some domains just won't rank as well. That's why it's more important, in my opinion, to just go ahead and do the shotgun approach, where you just throw a handful of domains at the wall and see which ones stick, right? Because some are going to perform better than others just by nature of the random ranking factor, just by nature of the algorithm. Okay, so you're better off doing the volume. And then the ones that stick or that do well, start to perform well, it could be the content, it could be the domains, it could be a combination of the two. The only way to tell is to recycle the content across multiple domains of the sites that start to perform well, recycle that content across multiple domains and see if you can get them to repeat that same level of success, right? To perform as well. All right. Bob says, any information on local builds would be great. I have a local client who will pay for leads on a pay-per-call basis. I've never done local ATM sites, only national. I put up 20 plus sites, all XYZ TLDs on March 5th, and none of them are producing calls yet. Well, it's only been 19 days, Bob. Okay, well, yeah, it's only been 19 days. I give my sites 4 to 6 weeks before I expect them to start generating leads, because they just take, especially XYZ domains, they just take so long to index. So no tags. I'd use tags based on my previous response to Wizfool's question. Set tags, and it set them to index. Only about 50 pages indexed after 3 weeks, where on the national builds I get tens of thousands of pages indexed in that time. Let's see, 75 zip codes. The site's targeted about 250 keywords each. Size is about 27,000, no tags. Okay. Yeah, in that case, if you're doing the keyword builds like what I had showed in some of the trainings, then yeah, limit your tags. Only set, 2 or 3 or 4 tags or something like that, to where you're keeping your tag pages aren't real resource heavy on the ATM when they're built. It's not like generating a actual post, in that they're not very resource heavy. That doesn't mean go crazy, guys, because Brian gets really pissed when he finds out that people are adding like 25 tags to posts, and that's ridiculous. I don't do any more than 12. 12 tags is the most I do. In a case such as this one, where you're building out a bunch of keywords multiplied by the number of zips or the number of posts, cities and zips or whatever your short code, then I would recommend that you'd only stick with like 3 or maybe 4 tags, but I would still use them. They seem to help these sites work better. Okay. And by the way, for local sites, guys, I would use top level domains, and I mean, not XYZs. To be honest with you, I would just roll that into, if you're doing this for client work, then I would make that a part of the client's bill, is paying for top level domains. And I would scrape the domains using a domain crawler. I would find domains that are topically relevant to what it is that you're going to be building on. They work a hell of a lot better. Okay. And if you're doing this as a service for clients, guys, you can charge the client for that, make them pay for it on the front end. And you can even hire and train a VA to work that, to do the domain crawling for you, which is what I recommend. I don't recommend you do it yourself. If you have to up front, that's fine. But I would recommend that you hire a VA to do that for you, because it is a bit time intensive. And if you start finding domains that are topically relevant, they'll index a hell of a lot faster. Okay. That's just my, that's my 2 cents. So, okay, cool. We're almost done. Let's see. Well, maybe not. Let me refresh. For some reason, these pages aren't auto-updating. Wow. Never mind. There's a lot more. We got to run through these now. Okay, Saurus, N. Saurus. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you, Belly, for all the training you provide. I'm not able to attend live when you broadcast 7:30 a.m., but I never miss the replays. I have a 2-part question. You have mentioned on several previous webinars that you submit all of your sitemap URLs per build to a backlink indexing service. Yes, we covered that. That's this one, Express Indexer. Because the ATM building philosophy is essentially build disposable sites, as Don says, likes to say, churn and burn sites. Do you feel that by going extra effort and expensive backlinking our ATM sites in the way that you do, that this will give our sites a stronger lifespan than rather flaming out in a few months or a year? Yeah, I don't do any backlinking. I submit the sitemaps to essentially with Express Indexer. They have a desktop submitter tool. It's free. It's incredibly simple. In other words, it is literally like here. I'll show you. I'll show you what this looks like. Where the hell is it? Here it is. This is it. You guys see this little thing? All it is you go select the text file where all your URLs are that you want to index, and you got your API key here, and then you click submit batch, and that little window will tell you the progress that it's making, and that's it. Like it'll say, okay, you know, I think it does like 7,500 URLs at a time. So basically I have my VAs, whenever they build the site, they go open up all the different sitemaps. They generate the sitemap, and you know, it's usually 7 post sitemaps, and then there's a tag sitemap, and oftentimes I'll use the category sitemap too. So it ends up being a total of 9 sitemaps. So there's 9 tabs open. Then they copy all the URLs, paste them into an Excel file, because it'll sort by, like it'll separate all the URLs on the sitemap by column, and then they'll copy all that A column, right? Column A, which will have all the sitemap, the post links and tag post links and stuff like that. And then paste them into a text file, a notepad file, and save that file. And then all that my VAs do is go browse to that file, click the submit button, and it automatically submits to the indexer. That's all we do. I don't build links to ATM sites, guys. They're churn and burn. There's no reason to do it, but I do send them to the indexer. And do you think the ATM sites have a longer life than a year or less? Will your protocol for your personal ATM sites be to renew your domains if they are making money? Yeah, absolutely. I set all my ATM domains when I purchased them to non-auto renewal, so that they don't renew automatically. But yeah, if the sites are still indexed and they're getting clicks a year later, I'm absolutely going to renew the domains. Brian Prinz mentioned that he never renews any of his domains. I'm not sure why he does that. I'd love to have a conversation with him about that, because to me, as long as the sites are indexed and they're generating traffic, why the hell not? I just don't send them to auto renew, because most of them I don't expect to be around that long. Excuse me. Question about building on subdomains. If one is building on a subdomain of a domain that has decent metrics from blue chip backlinks, what do you recommend to do on the actual main domain? I like to just put up a landing page, like a coming soon page or something like that. Like if you install, honestly, the best way to do it is and what I usually do is I direct, remember, we're using Cloudflare. When you add the domain to the ATM, it's going to create the Cloudflare, add the domain and set up the DNS records in Cloudflare. Well, you can go log into that Cloudflare account and you can redirect the route to another IP. So if you have a hosting account somewhere, another hosting account somewhere, then you can point the route. All your subdomains will still be pointed to your ATM server, but you can point the route to another server, you just using the A record to point to another IP. Then go to that server that you have, that other hosting account, go into cPanel, add the root domain as an add-on domain, and then now you'll have a folder in your public HTML folder for that new add-on domain. In there, you can upload, what I like to do is just an HTML template page that I have that basically says coming soon, because it's just one file, right? It's just one HTML file that I upload, and that's it. It's an index.html file. And that's it. I put, and it's basically like a coming soon page. But that way I don't have to mess with installing WordPress and all that other stuff. It's incredibly quick to do that. But if you want, you can put WordPress on the root, and you could build, a regular site on it, or you could, put a coming soon plugin, the ultimate coming soon plugin on it, or whatever. It's just, to me, there's a lot of extra work to install WordPress when you can just upload an index.html file to that, that folder, if that makes sense. The other thing that you could do is have that root domain redirect to one of your subs. You can do that too. I don't prefer to do that. I like using the index, putting an HTML page up. That's just like a coming soon page, in other words. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Add a blank page to the main domain. Yeah. Restore the site from archive. No. I have done that with the blue chip backlink stuff because they provide those HTML, the Wayback Machine, you know, the archive.org zip files. And so I have done that, and I've done that recently. But again, right now I'm just building a lot of XYZ domains because of the sheer volume. And we're building on the roots. We're just, once the sites are built, we're changing the site address inside of the WordPress settings to the www version of them. So it still is being counted as a subdomain. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's changing the URL to use the www version. So I'm actually not doing a lot of that right now, but typically when I've done some of the stuff on rebuilt domains, like from blue chip backlinks, I will either do the HTML page, like I said, or, which I'm not really doing that so much because I'm not using those for these type of builds now. But yeah, you can rebuild them with the site archive. In fact, what's nice about doing that is you can then use that root domain with the rebuilt content on them to actually push, you know, to build backlinks. Use it as your own private link network to build links to other properties that you may be working on. Does that make sense? Because it makes sense to do that, because those pages, when you rebuild the with the Wayback Machine, all the, like, basically you're rebuilding the old site on the domain. It's going to give you all the backlinks on that site. All the outbound links, or even internal links, are all automatically no followed when you rebuild that old site using the downloaded file. And then you can go in and edit one of those because all HTML, you can edit one of those pages to insert a link to whatever you want. And that link you remain obviously do follow. So that's what I do with the blue chip backlink sites, is when I rebuild the old domains, I just end up going into the HTML, one of the pages or several of the pages, and building links from within those pages. And those are the only do follow links on the site. So I'm pushing any of the outbound juice or inbound juice to where I want, if that makes sense. All right. Deploy a WordPress site and add content from archive. No, that's too much work. If you're going to add a WordPress site, like, honestly, I just use the HTML downloads from blue chip backlinks and install those, because it's so much easier just to unzip those files, upload them to the server, and you're done. If you're doing the WordPress route, it's just a little bit more work, and usually I'll just do a coming soon page. Then, do you recommend linking from the main domain back to the subdomains to get them crawled index better, or leave the subs as it is and then let the promote button do its thing? I just let the promote button do its thing, and I also send an express indexer. Okay, that's what I do. I don't recommend linking from the root domain down to the subs. In this case, I would rather use the root domain as a link network site, like a private link network site that I could use to build backlinks to, like, more traditional sites, not to ATM sites. That's personally how I do it. Okay. Greg says, how do you really long tail, low search volume, like 300 searches per month, work out for ATM sites and Ring Partner, for example? Do you get enough traffic from these, or should we be targeting higher volume keywords? Well, you'll get better results, like better ranking results, with those really long tail keyword phrases. That's why I like to build on those. And I find those using keyword suggest tools, you know, like I use Power Suggest. Again, you're going to have to test on your own. But I know that a lot of those long tails, they don't generate a lot of traffic, but they rank well usually. So that when somebody does search for those kind of obscure terms, you end up getting the click. Okay. Darren. Hey, Darren. What's up, buddy? Got to meet Darren down in Orlando, and we had a good time. He's a funny dude. I'm interested in learning more about pack lists. I don't build national sites, but I do go after multiple keywords for an area arbitrarily, let's say 50-mile radius. How would you build a pack list that, let's say, 5 keywords in 25 cities? Darren, that's been covered. We've only got a few minutes left, but that's been covered. We've and I'm not going to go over this too deep because it's already on the YouTube channel. So you can go back to the YouTube channel and cover that. But let's say you've got, let's say, city 1, and let's say, would you say 25 cities and 5 keywords? Okay. Whoops. Right. So what I'll do is I'll take if we had 5 keywords, it's been a bit since I've done this, and I have, every time I go to do one of these builds, I have to rethink it to figure out how to do it again. But I've got training in the YouTube channel already for this. But essentially, you can take a permutation tool. I think that's what it's called. It's that may be completely wrong, but there's a text tool. It's called Text Mechanic right here. Textmechanic.com, and you can come in here and line combination generator. Here we go. And you can essentially come over here and put in your keywords, your city set and your keyword set. And then like what I like to do is put a, some sort of delimiter in here, like a tab or something, so that then I can copy and paste into 2 columns into the Excel file so that I can create my short list. But like, let's just say we're going to copy the cities, paste this in. We need a tab as the delimiter. So I need to open up a text file and just click the tab button and copy that blank space. I'm going to put this in here, and then we're going to go back and get the keywords, and hopefully this will work, because like I said, I have to think about this every time I do it. And we'll clear that, and says, let's see, 125 combinations will be generated. Generate combinations. You see that? So now if you guys take a look at this, this is the outputted results, and let's just copy it and put it back in Excel. I'm going to open up a new tab, and we're going to paste this in, and boom, there's your short code, right? There's your short code list. Now, if you're going to be doing it with, to get everything else lined up, you're going to have to do this a few different times to make sure that everything is set up properly, like going back to this text generator tool, or the textmechanic.com. And this is the line combination generator tool. You'll have to do this a couple times to get your 4 custom lists done for your pack list. Does that make sense? But you'll see that here's city 1 times 5. It's keyword 1 through 5. Then it's city 2. And it does that all the way up to city 25, if you see that. So that's how you build those custom pack lists out, like that. All right. It takes a little bit of thought and playing with to get it to work right, to get, all 4 of your lists done. Oops, I hate OneNote. Why do I even open that? But it works out. That's how I've done it in the past. Okay. And again, there's training on the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search for Lead Gadget, and go take a look at the lessons. You'll see a video in there about that, probably several videos. Got 3 minutes. I'm interested in learning more about pack lists. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was Darren's question again. From the Hump Day Hangouts, I get the impression you are not in favor of using Lead Gadget type of sites for your main source of income. Brian and Don do. How are you using Lead Gadget types in your business now? To generate traffic. I use the, it's not my main business model, but I use them to generate traffic to all of my other main properties. So I do lead gen for local businesses. I've been doing that for years. That's what how I got my start in this business. I also do client work. I don't do much of this for client work, I'll be honest with you, because my clients don't pay me for that. That's not something that I've pitched to them. But I do use these sites for lead gen. I also I do a lot of affiliate marketing with these now. So I drive traffic to landing pages or opt-in pages where I can build email lists, or even straight to affiliate offers. I build my own landing pages with the affiliate links on them. And so I use the ATM sites for a lot of traffic generation, but I don't use them as my main business model. How it supplements my main business model. That makes sense. Question about TLDs. Have you noticed that some TLDs, in fact, yes, .coms, .nets, .orgs, they typically rank or index a hell of a lot faster than .xyzs. I cannot get my .site to index more than a couple hundred pages. Yeah, again, guys, if you want to stick with domains that index really, really well and much quicker, then go with .coms, .nets, .orgs. That's my 2 cents. Obviously, there's a cost associated with it, so just keep that in mind. Paul says, in a training a while back, we were told not to send traffic to an e-store as it may bomb the site. What if it is our own? I don't know. I don't do any e-commerce. Sorry, I can't help you with that. I honestly don't know. I don't do any e-commerce. I did buy in the Shopify several weeks ago. I just don't have the time to build a Shopify store. At some point, I probably will. I've got an idea in mind, but it's not something it's not a priority. Bradley, are we able to silo within the ATM now? Steve Marks is one of our mastermind members, +1 to that. Hey, Steve. Now, do you still recommend changing the custom permalink structure as shown in your early trainings from the 2015 to achieve this? You're talking about adding categories? No, because remember, that was just kind of like a pseudo silo. There's no silo function available at this time in the ATMs, and in fact, I just stopped doing that because it didn't help at all. Until there's an actual silo structure setup function, I'm not going to bother with it because it didn't help and it was just additional work. As much as I wanted to try to make some of my ninja stuff work and be more effective, I can tell you that mostly even through all the different tests and all the hours that I've spent testing a bunch of different methods, like the core model of what Brian says is just bang out a bunch of these sites, minimally spun, just do them in volume. That seems to work. It's more efficient than trying to do all this ninja stuff that I've tried to do to get better results, like super spun stuff, spinning images, trying to create silo structure using internal linking, all that kind of stuff. It didn't help. It wasn't a measurable or noticeable difference. So for that reason, I've gone back to the basics and just doing that, and we're just doing sheer volume now, and we're getting results that are pretty much on par with what I was able to achieve with some of my much more complicated builds, if that makes sense. So stick to the basics, just bang them out in volume. Okay. Monetization, telling me more about Mayhem and how do you feel about video authority helping the sites. This will be the last question, guys, because it's 8:30 and I got to go. But Joy, I met Joy down in Orlando. Hey, Joy, can you talk more about the monetization like you were telling me about at Mayhem? How do you feel about video authority helping the sites? I use videos in all my builds now. That's what I'm talking about. I've talked about that on this very webinar. If you didn't catch the beginning, you can go back and watch that. We scrape URLs for YouTube and then spin them, and I add a video to every page, every post, I mean. So it absolutely helps the site, in my opinion, because I'm not even using images now, and my sites are still being indexed well. Again, I'm using XYZ domains right now, so it's taking 4 to 6 weeks for the sites to fully index. And sometimes some of those sites don't fully index at all. Like I'll get 15, 20 pages indexed even 4 weeks later. So that could be one of those dud domains, right? The random ranking factor we were just talking about. But that's why we're building sites in batches of 15 to 20 at a time now, targeting one particular keyword or project that we call it a project, right? But the monetization that I've been doing, or like right now, is I'm driving traffic to, I'm doing a lot of affiliate stuff with that. I'm driving traffic to affiliate offers or to opt-in pages, which in turn builds my email list, which then I market affiliate offers using the email follow-up sequence. So I'm not sure what the, there is a density tool in the ATM. Yeah, I know. I'm old habits die hard. I like SEO Centro. As far as that, I don't know what the other monetization question. I can't remember exactly what it was I was speaking with you specifically about, Joy. If you can refresh my memory, I will bring that up on the next week's training. Actually, next week I won't be here, guys, because I'm going to be at the ClickFunnels event in San Diego. So it'll be 2 weeks before the next event. Last question, because I just saw Joy. Joy, the density means if you go back and look at the keyword density tool, like what I mentioned with SEO Centro here, you'll see that it shows. It's funny how that's misspelled. It's kind of ironic, right? But this is supposed to be 3 words. This is 2 words, and this is 1 word. It'll show you how many times that those words or word phrases appear on the page, and you want to try to stay within these results. I'll copy this and post this onto the event page here. And guys, with that, I've got to go. I will see you guys not next week, but the following week, okay? Because, again, next week I'll be in San Diego. So thanks for everybody being here, man. This was a much better webinar. The last many, many weeks have been, like, really, really slow. And I was quite bored with them, actually. So this was much more exciting. So thanks for everybody being here. I'll post the events page within the next week or so for the following week. You guys post your questions early. It's first come, first serve. Any questions you want covered, I'd be happy to cover them. That's what I'm here for. Talk to you soon.